Hello, everyone. I'm Tyler, and this is One on One, a sort of sideshow outside of the podcast where I talk to various people from BlazeKick, as well as several friends, and we just play a game and talk about a lot of things that are on our minds. Today's guest is Noah from Nintendo Unleashed.
Yep. Hi. I'm Noah. I'm a high school student. I've been on the Nintendo Unleashed podcast for over 2 years. One of the founders, I guess you could say.
One of the co-founders, yeah.
Yeah, alongside Armando, who's also BlazeKick.
Yeah, you were like among the first wave of people we hired at the start of the website.
Back when it was in the Flood Games era.
Yeah. It was you and Jim and I was also a co-founder. So you were like the first wave. I think it was you and Connor. Because Connor wasn't a part of BlazeKick, Connor wasn't a part of Flood Games until that. So I'm going to play Stardew Valley, and I'm kind of going to show Noah what I've got. It's a very shoddy looking farm, and it's winter, so I have no crops growing except the stuff I have in the except the crops I have in the greenhouse. I've completed every single community center thing, so I'm basically in sandbox at this point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can probably teach me a thing or two about the game because I have it for Switch and I don't entirely know what I'm doing.
Yeah, I actually play on a controller. This is the PC version that I'm playing on. The first thing you're going to notice is that I have the sound really loud. The second thing is that I have a couple PC mods enabled. Just things that are down to preference, because that's what mods are for. But
is this your house?
Yeah, this is the first upgrade
God.
you get. Yeah, the first upgrade you get adds another room, and this allows you to marry.
Okay, cool.
So I have a myriad of stuff
I have not seen in this game.
Yeah, you're still in spring, I believe, or summer.
I think spring.
Yeah, spring, or at least late spring.
I think I'm the first summer then.
Yeah. So when you marry a spouse in this game, which I chose Abigail.
Did you go with Abigail? Very good choice.
Yeah. It was either that or Emily, but when you marry a character, they occasionally help around the farm, so like they'll water crops for you, or feed the animals, or repair fences, or they'll make you food items for if you want to go caving. But the whole thing I have right now is that it's just an open sandbox. There's a rare event that happens. I'm going to talk about Stardew Valley and where I am right now, real quick, before we go into the topics. But there's a rare event that happens when a witch comes at night, and she'll drop off a void egg at your coop. And this void egg spawns a void chicken, and the eggs are way more valuable than even ducks. So I actually have that sitting in there. I have a couple of those.
A void egg sounds like a very despicable item, but I guess it's...
Yeah, you turn it into void mayonnaise, and it's very, very profitable. So the first thing about my farm is that I'm actually a brewery.
Okay.
I have a lot of kegs to work with, and you put in a bunch of hops to make pale ale. And pale ale, hops you sell for like 30 or like 50 gold, but you can sell pale ale for 300. And it takes a couple of days to distill. So I have that stuff starting. I have to go get more hops from the greenhouse, but I'm going to start with my cows. So this is one of the mods I have is that the cows are more Harvest Moon style.
Okay.
I think a couple of my cows are pregnant because they're not offering milk, but I'm not too sure. Anyways, so BlazeKick kind of started off as Flood Games. It was just a hobby project, but now we've kind of turned it into a network of some sort.
Right.
Where a bunch of us are kind of off doing our own things. And the podcast in particular is kind of that, like, fine side where we all actually meet up and do stuff. So, what did we start you off with Flood Games? Was it? I think we hired you when we needed extra writers for E3.
Yeah, I think I remember it was in the summer, so it was around E3. I remember I also started off writing both news and reviews. I never really did any editorials, but I did quite a few reviews. I think my first one was for like Rayman Legends.
Yeah, I remember that actually.
And I remember doing a number of smaller news stories as well, stuff I sort of picked up from Twitter.
That's basically where all of our news came from, though. Too, is that we didn't really cycle through actual news sites or anything. We got news from like word of mouth or Twitter. We didn't get sources from like IGN or GameSpot.
Right, and I think that was, for me, part of the fun of it, because it actually feels like you have a scoop.
Yeah.
If there's like a new tweet or something.
I think there were like 2 instances in Flood Games and like 4 or 5 in BlazeKick where we actually were among the first to post an article about it, beating out like IGN or like
right.
things that really don't prove success on merit, but just felt good.
Yeah, no, I can absolutely understand that. In terms of other reviews, one of my highlights was actually getting my first ever physical review copy. You might remember this one too. This was Adventure Time. I think it was called Explore the Dungeon Because I Don't Know.
Yeah. Like I actually remember that review too.
Yeah, it was a 3DS game. It was not very good. I think I gave it like a 4 out of 10.
I think it was it was pretty low. It was like, it was one of those, you clearly wanted to enjoy it, but it just kept pushing you away kind of thing.
I mean, I kept, like, I put a bunch of time into this game, but I really just couldn't get into it. It was a lot of systems were very obtuse and a lot of goals kind of unclear, and it was just incredibly repetitive, dull.
Yeah, when I met you, you were like obsessed with mutant muds and stuff. And now you tweet out that you are enamored with Doom, and I'm just like, this is it's just really,
it's been an evolution.
Yeah. It's gotten even more spectacular because that's like the exact thing I do, is I will just spontaneously pick a game and be like, this is what I'm going to focus on for the next 3 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And Stardew Valley was kind of that. I didn't get super into it for a while. I need wood and stone. I'm gonna make another shed so I can start working on another set of kegs for hops.
Now, is this your first year?
This is year 2, actually.
Okay. And you said this farm was like shoddy, or because I'm seeing the opposite. That like that area I just saw back there, just
I
clearly have a lot more research to do for this.
Yeah, my issue is that I register on the autism scale and I have ADHD. So I will find anything to do to distract myself. Like at all times I have at least 3 computer monitors on. Like, I have Discord on a screen, I have OBS on a screen, I have a video on a screen, and I have a game on a screen at any point. And it really helps when I have ADHD because I have, like, a ton of ways to do that kind of stuff. And it makes things a lot more, interesting, because I need 15,000 gold. Okay. That's fine. ADHD is really difficult for me because I'm an all-or-nothing kind of person. Like, I'm also very stubborn. Like, my stubbornness comes from the fact that I just gave up way too easily when I was growing up on a lot of things. So, I'm now, like, all-or-nothing, where I invest as much time as possible as I can into something, and if it doesn't work, then I can just move on. Like, I just immediately disconnect from that kind of thing. The thing about Stardew Valley is that I started this file thinking I am not going to do like a beer and keg setup to make myself gain a huge amount of profit. But the world had a different plan for me, clearly. Yep. Because I have like 4 bee houses, I have a ton of mayonnaise machines, and a bunch of cheese machines, and, like, I'm working on brewing a bunch of pale ale. Like, it's it's absurd. And I blame it particularly on the fact that I'm just impatient as well. But the fantastic thing about having ADHD is that I look at things differently. Like, I approach it in a more optimal way. So it's not necessarily like I need to do this because I need money. It's how much money can I get out of this? And obviously, the one thing I immediately dropped off the charter in terms of importance is talking to people. I do not focus on relationships except when it came to getting married. Like, that was the one thing I actually focused on in its entirety. And even then, I optimized it to an extreme. Because the moment I was like, can we get married? Like, it was 8 hearts, and you need 10 hearts to get married to a bachelor. Or a bachelorette. So I was like, okay, do bouquets stack? Because as you reach 8 hearts, you unlock bouquets at Pierre's general store. And bouquets give you a ton of happiness for somebody who has a romantic interest in you. So I went to Pierre's, got like 20 bouquets, that was like 4,000 gold or something, and spammed it until they wanted to get married, and then I had to wait until I could get the item that lets you that lets you propose. So it's like that instance of optimizing that I focus on in its entirety. I think it's 18 hours or something before the pale ale's done, but I can go collect more hops because hops, for some reason, regenerates every day. And I think I have 60 set up here. So I have plenty of hops that'll last me a long time. And that's why I need to build another shed, is because I'm clearly gonna need more hops. The thing about kegs is that you need oak resin, and I have a bunch of taps out there on oak trees so that I can get that item. But oak resin only generates at least once a week, so it's like a long haul. Like, I started building the keg area, like the keg house, in summer, and it's taken me to winter to get that full up. And I made it in preparation of using a controller, because I play a lot of games with a controller. Like, even on PC, like, I prefer a controller. You kind of have that same experience, though, too, because I don't think you play PC games. You've stuck around in consoles for as long as I can remember.
Yeah, so I have a PC and have some games on it, but I guess my relationship with, PC and kind of desktop gaming is a weird one, because my primary desktop machine that I use right now is a school-issued MacBook Air. Which I can't really, like, it's a decent computer, but the thing is I can't really download stuff, like programs. So I can't get Steam on here.
Yeah.
And so my main, you could say, gaming rig is this old PC that really has trouble with modern stuff, and so I can easily run lower spec games on there, but for me, I just much prefer the convenience of consoles.
Yeah, I got that.
I definitely spent a lot of time in middle school on PC. Like, I put a lot of hours into Team Fortress 2.
Oh yeah,
in my middle school years. That's probably my most played PC game. A lot of it just screwing around, honestly, not even serious play. But yeah, definitely primarily on consoles. And
yeah. The first time I ever, like, my first ever transition to PC gaming was Left 4 Dead. So I had this really old Dell laptop that was really crap, and it was like on its way out pretty much. I don't really need any of this stuff. So every Friday and Sunday, this cart is here, and it has a bunch of rare items. So if you're missing an item, then you check here every Friday or Sunday, and he might have an item that you can use to fill out your request boxes in the community center, and that's how I completed a lot of the stuff. Is like, I couldn't wait until fall to get a pufferfish to complete it, or like the fish tank. and that's what I use pretty much. But yeah, I played Left 4 Dead on Xbox 360 first, because I started with Xbox Live. And like I even grew up playing Halo 2 split screen with my friends back in the day. Like it was Mario Kart Wii, and then when I got bored of Mario Kart Wii, we played Halo 2 for like 5 hours. And that was fine, except that we always played one map, because everybody's favorite map was Lockout for some reason. And we would just play that for like ever. But I wasn't like a huge fan of that map. And the transition to Xbox 360 to PC was rough because I had crap laptops. And the first time I ever played a PC game legitimately, it was Team Fortress 2 on a laptop, and it ran at like 10 FPS. Because like the laptop is garbage. It wasn't meant for gaming. And even then, like I didn't necessarily grow up with I didn't necessarily start with a strong PC. I started with like a $1,300 computer that couldn't even run Battlefield 3 on its maximum settings. And that's what I used for about 4 years, and then it literally exploded. I was playing Warframe with a bunch of friends. Warframe is, of course, on PS4 as well, if you want to look into it. I think it doesn't require PS Plus because it's free to play. But it's like a huge MMO where you're basically space ninjas, and you go around and infiltrate a bunch of stuff. And it's really interesting and fun. It's not my thing necessarily, but I have friends who have like thousands of hours in it. I'm gonna go buy a bunch of iron from the foundry. But that was pretty much my start with PC gaming, and now I have a $1,600 computer that can run Battlefield 1 on its max settings, even though it's really not recommended. And, I don't know, like, the transition to PC gaming was super easy, because I could play any game I wanted. It was just really expensive. But I've gone back to being a console pleb, because at some point I realized that my carpal tunnel and my arthritis, because I'm old as fuck, and swearing's okay for this, by the way.
Okay, good to know.
Just because it's like a general thing, and it's also my podcast, and I really don't care. But I have carpal tunnel and arthritis, so I can't use a mouse and keyboard for very long. But a controller is like super comfortable and simple, and I use an Xbox One controller a lot because that's like my favorite controller right now. And not a lot of games support PS4 controllers on PC, but like the transition to PC pretty much made me go back to being a console player, because I just play with controllers all the time now. If there is an opportunity for me to use a controller, I will use it. And that's purely down to preference, but that really brought to my mind the idea of elitism in consoles.
Right.
Because anytime I've seen an argument on consoles, it's always about the selection of games. And I'm like, realistically, it should be the controllers. Because all consoles are gonna play games. You're gonna get those consoles because they have those games. And like, it doesn't matter what console you get, because it's never gonna be as good as a PC, but that's fine, because they're super affordable. So it comes straight up down to the controller. Because like, I don't think the Switch would have done as well if the controllers were garbage.
No, I agree 100%. And I think a specific example, I don't know if you're familiar with Narcissa Wright.
Narcissa Wright of
Zelda. She's a Zelda streamer, was previously Cosmo.
Okay.
She, I think, deals with carpal tunnel, and a huge Zelda fan. And when she started Breath of the Wild, like for her being able to play with the split Joy-Cons was like a huge benefit. So yeah, the Switch definitely has some really cool form factor stuff going on.
Yeah,
Pro Controller is great too. So yeah.
When it came to like the best example is when it came down to Skyrim, because Skyrim's came out on the Switch and in VR for PlayStation. And I had to pick between playing it in VR or on the Switch, and it came down to preference at that point, because Skyrim Portable sounds awesome, but Skyrim in VR sounds way better for me, because I have the peripheral, I have everything set up, and I like motion controls. So it's like there's a lot of benefits to having it in VR for me anyways. But, like, I can see why people would want that game portable, but, like, I always found Skyrim really boring. It just wasn't my thing. Like, I was more of a Fallout person. And the only reason I'm getting Skyrim VR over Fallout 4 is because I own 3 copies of Fallout 4. I don't need more Fallout 4. And also, they have not said anything about Fallout 4 VR coming to PS4 anytime soon.
Me, personally, I don't own any VR stuff, but I just think it's super cool that these, like, big, real open-world games are finally coming to VR, you know?
Yeah, that's
because
like...
For so long, it's just been, like, these mini VR experiences, you know?
Yeah.
So
that's what caught my interest as well with Skyrim, is it's the first of its kind, really. Because there have been no open-world RPGs in VR quite yet. Not of the scale of a Bethesda game. I think, because Goats... I'm trying to remember. I have, like, a mental checklist in my head at all times. Because that's just how I process stuff. Goats only produce milk every 2 days. And I continually forget which day I milked them. But cows produce milk every day unless they're pregnant. But sometimes they just don't produce milk at all. And it's weird. But back on the VR topic, Skyrim VR is a perfect fit for me because I never found issue with the way the game looked. Like, I thought it was a very beautiful world to explore in VR, and I think it will be when I get it. But, like, Skyrim to me was always just really boring, because I was never a huge fan of swordplay or anything. And the plot was really boring. It was about, like, fighting dragons. It's like, cool. Like, if you're a fantasy fan, it's totally for you. Because it's just a perfect fit. But I was just never into that kind of thing.
Right.
I was more of a sci-fi person, even though if you gave me, like, a modern fantasy, then I'd be so down. Okay, yep, there's all my pale ale. Alright. You're about to see my gold value shoot up, because each of these is worth 300 gold. So...
Does it take to produce again?
About a day and a half. Roughly. So, like, 36 hours or something? Or maybe 30 hours.
Into that business venture.
Yeah. I'm gonna grab my hops and I'm gonna just refill these. But yeah, like, the best thing about Skyrim VR as well is that they have mod capabilities for it too. And I already have a list of mods for Skyrim that I use right now, for base Skyrim, that I'll probably plug in to Skyrim VR to make the game way more beautiful. Because the one thing that I'm sad about is that they pledge Skyrim Special Edition as, like, this be-all, end-all of Skyrim, but it just looks the same as Skyrim. And Skyrim deserves to look way better. It's just like some mental synapse in my head where it's this beautiful world and everything, but it's so bland and empty and everything looks dead that it just filters out of my mind that it doesn't need mods. For Fallout, the reason I modded Fallout 4 is because you've been dormant for 200 years. Like, you've been asleep for 200 years. But everything still looks dead. Like, after 200 years, you'd think that it would eventually be overgrown with greenery, because that's what happened with Chernobyl. Chernobyl had that huge radiation leak, and it's like a massive evacuation, except for people who decided to remain there, and it was dead for a long time, and now it's starting to grow again. And that's basically, like, why I modded Fallout 4. Like, I eventually had to tune out the idea of doing gameplay mods. Like, I still do it sometimes, but only if it is such a minor thing, like adding more spells in Skyrim or something. But, like, I don't know. would you want Fallout 4 on Switch?
Yeah, I'd say so because, again, I'm kind of in a weird place as someone who got a, oh, that's a lot of money.
Yeah.
Someone who got a PS4 earlier this year. So, theoretically, I could, like, they just came up with like a Game of the Year or whatever edition with like all the DLC.
Yeah.
And so it's like theoretically I could buy that, but again, for me,
it's about the portability.
Because it's so much more convenient. Like, for me, it's almost less of a logistical thing and more of a mental thing because I sometimes have a hard time, like on a school night, just sitting down and like, playing a game on my TV because it's like, oh, I have so much to do. But it feels like less of a an undertaking almost to play a game, in handheld, just because it's like you can sit down and just start playing right away. I feel like it's the same thing there because I'm planning on picking up Skyrim on Switch around Christmas time, and I mean, seeing as Fallout 4 is obviously Skyrim was first released on the last gen. Not sure how well Fallout 4 would run. They would probably have to make some tweaks, but in theory, yeah, that's a game I would enjoy seeing for sure.
Yeah, the thing about Skyrim is that you also have to compare it to the Special Edition because that's the engine it's running on.
That's true, yeah.
The Skyrim Special Edition is a heavily updated version of the engine that they used for Skyrim back in 2011. But Fallout 4 uses the exact same engine. They've been using the same engine since Morrowind back in the early 2000s. Oh. They haven't changed a bit at all. Like, they haven't even done a new engine or anything. They haven't done any new builds, which is why the Bethesda games running on the Gamebryo engine, in case you want to know other games that use that engine, that's primarily what all the Fallout and Skyrim or Elder Scrolls games from Bethesda use, is the Gamebryo engine. That engine is really buggy. And it's in particular extremely buggy if you can just look up videos on YouTube of characters glitching out and floating, falling out of the level, geometry errors, LOD errors. There's a lot of things that are really, really wrong with the Gamebryo engine, but they stick with it because they're worried more about the experience than the engine, which is good in ways and really, really bad in others, because eventually all the games start feeling the same. And Fallout 4 feels like a... Did I get you, or... No. Fallout 4 feels like a better version of Fallout 3 in terms of gameplay, but still just as weirdly buggy as Fallout 3, which it's been 7 years between Fallout 3 and 4, not counting New Vegas, which runs on exactly the same engine as Fallout 3. There's no difference whatsoever besides being able to aim down sights. Yeah, I have a deeply newfound hatred for Bethesda in a lot of ways, because they really don't know sometimes how things should be working. Because the one major thing that came out recently was the Creation Club, which is a moderated by Bethesda market for mods, where you pay real life money for it. And obviously, it is not worth it to buy any mods from the Creation Club, because a lot of the mods are super simple and superfluous. One of the mods for Skyrim SE that they added in the Creation Club was survival mode, where you have to worry about your food where you have to worry about food intake and your water needs and diseases and stuff like that. Problem is that mode was added for free in Fallout 4. So why is it not free for Skyrim? Among other things, I think they added in horse armor again, which is an infamous in-joke for Oblivion. Oblivion's first DLC was horse armor, and it had nothing but a cosmetic effect. It didn't even add extra defense or anything. It was $8 just for horse armor, and that's the joke. That has been cycling for years. Did I grab the hops from here? Can't remember. I did, okay. See, that's my problem, because I'm going to go back on the ADHD thing for a second. My problem is that I don't remember what I've checked off on my checklist. But yeah.
All the boxes are just always empty.
Yeah. The major annoyance about Bethesda is that I love the Fallout universe, and I love the Elder Scrolls universe, but I really, really wouldn't complain if they gave it to another developer. I was just like, okay, keep to this mantra, but just design it better. Because the one... I don't know. It's hard to explain. You get what I mean, though. It's like, I love Bethesda games, but I just hate Bethesda.
Right. No, in my time, on Twitter and everything, I certainly see like a love-hate relationship with Bethesda,
Yeah.
So I can certainly understand that, despite I haven't, again, never touched any of their games.
Yeah.
Not yet, anyway.
Skyrim's going to be your... Yeah, I don't count Doom because that's...
Bethesda made. Yeah, Doom because that's... Yeah,
that's Bethesda published, yeah.
Right, but not developed. So I guess Skyrim will be my first Bethesda developed.
Yeah, and you'll kind of like I'm perfectly okay with people really liking Skyrim because I really like Fallout, and a lot of people really hate Fallout. So I'm like okay with people really liking Skyrim. So if you dig Skyrim and you spend like 500 hours playing it because it's a pretty big game, then more power to you. It's just not my thing unless VR totally changes my mind. Then I'm gonna treat Skyrim as like a nice spectacle and not necessarily as like the be all end all of progression.
Yeah. I'll have to wait and see, obviously. So I'll let you know.
Yeah. So the next topic I wanted to bring up is the Twitter post you made in October about needing to find a quick fix, like a game that is easy to pick up and put down. And for me, that was never an issue, because I'm the kind of guy who will play any game for 5 minutes and put it down and then play a different game. And other times, I will spend, 24 hours playing a game on release day, because I'm crazy. The most recent example of those kinds of games is Destiny 2, which came out on PC about a month ago. Came out on October 24th. And as we're recording this, it's the 25th. So yeah. I spent the first day it came out on PC, I played it for 13 hours. And then I proceeded to play it for 8 hours successively for about 10 days before I actually started to slow down. So it's not in need of a quick fix to me, and it's hard to process the idea of picking up a game, putting it down until I looked at myself, and I was just like, man, there are a lot of games I haven't finished. I have a backloggery. I think I've explained this to you what a backloggery is.
We're hearing about it.
Backloggery is a website. You can go check it out as backloggery.com. It's independently moderated. It's a website where you just put in your library of games and it tracks what games you have and haven't beaten. So it's really good for me because I don't remember things like that easily. Okay, I need to arrange this better. Okay, let's go make some copper. But yeah, the idea of a quick fix game to me is just any game that you can pick up and put down after like an hour. And for you, that recent game was Doom.
Yeah, definitely.
Which I think is actually a fantastic idea of a quick fix.
Yeah, I mean, what works so well for me, there's a couple things about that game that make it great for playing for just like an hour.
Right.
First of all, again, there's this very strict level structure where it's like the levels are pretty much all about an hour long each.
It's somehow a mix of linear and non-linear. Exploration-based linear structure, where there are secrets everywhere in that game, but there is a linear structure about the progression, which is great. Like, it rewards exploration.
So in addition to that structure, which lends itself really well to short play bursts, the game is just mentally taxing.
Yeah.
Because like your brain is constantly on high alert, and you're constantly making all these decisions and thinking about where to move next, and I love it, but it's exhausting, and that certainly, the music contributes to that and everything. It's just constant, 100% high intensity.
Yeah.
And again, it's great, but as soon as I finish level, I'm like, oh, I need to get a drink of water.
Yeah, I get that feeling. I would play that game for like 4 levels at a time because I was doing a blind LP of it. So, like when it came out, I got it on Xbox One. And the loading times, as you say, are bad. Yes, I agree heavily that the loading times are awful, and I'm sure they're just as bad on Switch.
Yeah. I mean, I played the game on PS4, right? But I'm sure they're just as bad on Switch. Yeah, if not worse.
Okay, that's all of the kegs I can fit into this safely for controller use, and I think that totals up to 58. I'm gonna double check to be sure. I think that's 58 kegs for a shed. You can probably put about 65 in here if you use mouse input or right stick mouse.
Okay.
You could probably fit more in there because like you can have adjacent and overlapping, but this is optimal for if you just want to use basic input.
Also looks better.
Yeah, it looks very nice. I'm very proud of this. Yeah, Doom was a great fix as someone with ADHD because it rewarded. I'm gonna keep bringing up ADHD because that's just who I am.
Fine.
Like that's a constant thing of mine. Is I have to worry about that as someone that has to deal with being distracted easily. The amount of stuff you can get in that is awesome. Did you ever find a hidden Doom level?
Not one. I was amazed that I didn't find a single one.
Yeah, okay. Because the hidden Doom levels are one of the coolest things, as well as early weapons. In every level, starting from level 2, and up to like level 9, you can get the weapon that would appear in the next stage early.
Oh, huh. I may have done that unknowingly at some point. I'm not sure.
You might have. Because I definitely didn't know you could get... I definitely didn't know that you were supposed to get the double-barrel shotgun in level 5 and not level 4. I think that's
I remember my first time using the super shotgun was in one of those like rune missions where you had to kill like a certain number of enemies with a small time limit.
Yeah.
I didn't actually have the weapon yet.
Yeah, I mean, rune missions don't really count, but... Because those are like challenge rooms.
I was speaking of those. I love those rune missions. Like
oh yeah, the rune missions are awesome because they definitely test your wits in terms of agility and accuracy, and that's like the best way to challenge a Doom player.
I don't know if you've played these games, but they're very Bayonetta.
Yeah, I've actually been playing Bayonetta 1 on the Wii U.
That has these very similar little areas where you.
Yeah.
I don't know I forget if they're in 1, but I know they're in 2.
They are in 1
sort of
for like yeah. There are challenge areas in Bayonetta 1.
Yeah.
They're more like arenas though, where you just kill a bunch of enemies as quickly as you can, and you get a bunch of halos out of it.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Doom, and it's nice. Like the rewards are awesome. Like one of them is just like here's a double jump.
Yeah.
Actually, no. I'm sorry. You don't get that in the thing, but like just the rewards are really nice. Like there's one where it's like after your second jump, you can maneuver in air.
Yeah.
More deftly.
The loadout I had in Doom was glory kills give you armor, and like glory kills give you armor. Your you have infinite ammo as long as you have over 50 armor. It's like there's a lot of crazy runes that you get in that game, and finding a loadout that matches your playstyle is the best feeling. Like, getting armor for glory kills rewarded glory kills even more than before. And it rewarded me with infinite ammo, which means that I could kill enemies faster. So it just doubled the rate at which I could play, which was awesome. I also beat that game on the hardest difficulty, Nightmare, which is a challenge of itself. Especially because you can't change the difficulty to Nightmare. If you have a previous file on like Hurt Me Plenty or something, or Ultraviolence, you have to play on a new file to play Nightmare. So I had to do New Game on Nightmare, which is way harder than it sounds.
Okay.
But beating the game on Nightmare gave you Ultra Nightmare, where you play on Nightmare difficulty, but if you die, then you have to start from the very beginning of the game.
Oh, not just the level, the game. Oh my god.
Yeah, I have yet to beat Ultra Nightmare, but that is the ultimate gauntlet. There's apparently somebody who's beaten it in less than 2 hours, and I'm just like, how do you function? You're clearly a robot, and I just have not met you yet. I really want to play the new Wolfenstein game as well, because I've heard a lot of really good things about Wolfenstein 2. But I just haven't had the time to play them yet because I've been buried in other games.
Yeah, right.
It's gonna turn.
Yeah, for me, that's certainly one I'd like to get around to, but I feel like I definitely want to play the first.
You also have like
reboot first. What's it called?
They're called reboot. Yeah, they're technically reboots. The Wolfenstein, the new Order.
Order?
Yeah, Wolfenstein: The New Order, and then the standalone was the Old Blood. That's what was messing me up. Yeah,
or the Old Blood. Yeah.
Yeah, if you want to talk about a company that knows how to reboot a franchise right, id Software has been nailing it. The Quake Champions is probably one of my favorite arena shooters I've played in a very long time. If it weren't for Reflex Arena just being easier to get into and less invasive with its loot box system, then I would be totally down to playing a bunch of Quake Champions. Okay, I got milk, I did eggs, I'm waiting on the keg. I'm gonna go make a shed to start keg house number 2.
Fun.
Welcome to my mental checklist. I sometimes talk out loud. That's
fun.
That's just a... Yeah. So, I'm sure that this has been a topic of discussion in Nintendo Unleashed. I haven't actually seen the podcast in a while because I don't openly listen to it all that often. But I have to wonder, what is your game of the year so far?
Oh yeah, so I've been thinking about that a lot. Obviously, one major question when you're thinking about game of the year is, does it have to be a game that came out in this year, or can it just be a game you played for the first time in this year?
Typically, the rule is that the game has to have come out this year, but because you're like fresh off the boat with like a PS4, I think you got it either at the start of this year or really late last year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I got it in June of this year, so for me, all PS4 experiences are 2017.
I'm gonna wait here until I can order stuff. She just left the house. That's one major annoyance. They have their own pathing and schedule, so sometimes you go in and you're like, I'm gonna go buy this thing, and they're out of the house.
Just kidding. Yeah, for me, recently it's been a lot of internal debates between... Well, there were 2 sort of massive Nintendo games that came out this year.
Oh, yeah. 3, technically, if you...
Mario. Well, wait, hold on. If we're talking massive in scale, I mean Xenoblade. Which other are you referring to there?
Breath of the Wild and Mario Odyssey are the other 2. But Xenoblade Chronicles 2 is like the other big one.
Xenoblade, absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Because like I was thinking passively like Splatoon 2 and ARMS, but like Splatoon 2 is the same as Splatoon 1, but just with more stuff, which is great if you like Splatoon 1.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And ARMS I haven't played yet.
Now, ARMS is pretty good. It's but I can't stay with it for too long. It's one of those short bursts.
It's a fighting game. Like it's one of those things where you're meant to only like sit down for an hour and learn stuff, and then you've had enough. Mm-hmm. I have never played Killer Instinct for longer than 2 or 3 hours. Whoops.
Yeah. So for me, that internal debate between Mario and Zelda, I'm currently very much leaning towards Zelda. But I love Mario too. It's so tough. I tweeted about this a little while ago. Because upon finishing Mario, I just felt like this, like you could say 100% finishing, this empty, and it's just like, oh god, what do I do now? And then I sort of get these feelings of doubt. It's like, man, did I really enjoy that as much as I think I did? Which is a stupid thought, because of course I enjoyed it.
It's
playing that game, I just had so many amazing moments.
Mario games have never been good for 100%. Like even back in Mario 64, they have never been good for 100%. Mario 64 was awful with the 100 coins. People like 100 coins, but I absolutely hate them. it was even worse in Sunshine with the blue coins. Because it was like, you have to go get 240 blue coins to get 100%, and there are only like 30 in each level. Have fun. It's like, cool. This is gonna be fun. Yay. And a lot of the levels, like the bonus levels, sucked. Like the pachinko machine was garbage. Like, there's a lot of bad. I didn't even like 100% in Galaxy 1 or 2.
Yeah.
But like, Odyssey is one of those daunting tasks where there's probably just as much to do in Odyssey in terms of just collectibles as there were in Zelda. Like, because in Zelda, in Zelda you had shrines, you had Korok seeds.
Yeah. You have like great fairy stuff.
You had great fairies. Yeah. You had quests.
Yeah.
There was just a lot to process, and I have never experienced a game where I had so much to do and I felt like I didn't know what to do next.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like I beat my head on a wall for 3 weeks playing that game, trying to figure out what I need to do next.
Right. My only, I guess, gripe with like how the post game stuff works in Mario is, have you beaten the game? I don't know. I don't know if I want to spoil this.
Breath of the Wild, I've beaten.
It's not really
I've gotten
Mario.
True Ending, but I have not played Odyssey. I don't own it.
No, that's fine. So basically, like once you beat Bowser, more moons are unlocked in each previous kingdom. And I don't like that very much because it feels like such an artificial way of progressing. I much prefer it in the way Metroid does it or the way Zelda does it, where you're able to get new moons through either new skills that you gain as a player character or new knowledge that you acquire as the player. I feel like the way you unlock further moons is just so arbitrary, and that feels so unnatural to me. It's just not very satisfying.
It's also not satisfying. It's also not satisfying in the sense that you get moons from doing anything. Like, I've seen people playing Odyssey, obviously, and there are great ways to get moons in that. There's like the line follow puzzle, and
yeah, those are great.
And like the bullet bill, and like the bullet bill one, and the Koopa races, yeah.
Yeah.
But like, there's one like ground pound on this rock. Like, really? That doesn't feel rewarding if it's there and it's super easy to get. It just feels superfluous. Like, I think they could have gotten away with having 300 less moons and making those moons feel more worthwhile.
No, I agree 100% with that. And in terms of the post-game stuff, again, I know this sort of requires more effort on part of the devs, and we're not entitled to having a great post-game, but like, I feel like it would just be so much more satisfying if instead of unlocking 200 more moons in the kingdoms that are super easy to get but just weren't there before for reasons, that there were, a couple more full-fledged kingdoms, because there are a couple post-game kingdoms, but they're essentially like, they're not full kingdoms that you explore. They're essentially just contain these super tough challenges. Look, there's one post-game kingdom that's fantastic to explore, but the other two are essentially like gauntlets.
Right.
I just wish there was more of that post-game new exploration. Because the best thing about Super Mario Odyssey is going to a new area and just looking into every nook and cranny. Like,
yeah,
it's so fun. It's fantastic. For that alone, I could give Mario Odyssey my game of the year. I just don't think they handled the post-game very well at all.
Yeah.
Zelda, though, is, for me, on, like, I think another level.
Yeah.
My experience with that game, so there's a couple things about it to me which just elevate it to like this. So, first of all, with Mario, everyone's experience is more or less the same with the game, right? Aside from like what costume you're wearing.
Yeah.
Isn't a big deal. Zelda, like, so much of the discussion about the game online is like, how did you play this game differently from I did? And it's not like those discussions pop up naturally. It doesn't feel forced,
Well, that's yeah, if I may, real quick. The idea of Zelda inciting that kind of discussion is new for the franchise, because no Zelda game before it has given you this freedom. Everybody's kind of had to play the same way and solve the same puzzles. But Breath of the Wild had such freedom, like this insane amount of freedom that no game should give a player. Like, people were finding solutions to puzzles that really shouldn't have worked. Like, I went through an entire Divine Beast just using Rivali's Gale in order to get across puzzles that I just didn't know how to solve. Like, there was the one puzzle where you have to, like, open a door with electricity, and I just... Am I out of hay? I just realized. I just jumped over and skipped most of that Divine Beast because I just had Rivali's Gale, and that's why I told people, like, if you want to enjoy the game naturally, then you definitely should avoid getting Rivali's Gale as much as you can, because it does make things way easier for you. If you want to have, like, a cakewalk trip, then absolutely go for it. But, like, the point is, I did it that way, and I knew you weren't supposed to do it that way. And then I saw somebody on Twitter posting a video of them just putting down a bunch of steel broadswords and solving the puzzle. I'm just like,
yeah,
okay, maybe there is no real way to solve this naturally. But that's awesome about
and yet,
Breath of the Wild.
Yeah, and to me, again, the special fusion comes from the fact that, again, so you have this, this idea of everyone has a different experience is obviously not new for games. For so many RPGs and open world games, that's the case.
Back on the topic of Bethesda, that's basically what sells it, is that everybody has their own way of playing.
Yeah, exactly. But for me, like, what makes it special is that combination of player-owned way, but also that Nintendo polish, right?
Right.
Where, like, everything just flows together perfectly, and it's essentially a flawless experience, technically.
Right.
And just the fusion of those two things makes it just such a memorable experience. And also, just in terms of the world is just so well designed. It just makes you feel so clever. And I could talk about the
thing about Breath of the Wild is that every area feels unique as well. Like, there's no blending of areas. Every area feels like it has its own personality. And that every area sucks when it rains. Like, that's the only time I've ever seen something that is the same for every area, is when you have to deal with rain. To this day, I don't know why they made rain the worst thing ever. Like, when it came down to, like, exploring, I thought that having to deal with extreme cold and extreme heat was the worst. Rain is the worst. It is. I have never hated a weather in a video game before, but rain is it.
And I love how for the entirety of the Zora area, the enemy is rain.
Yeah, I was like, I can get to this area this way. Oh wait, every area is sheer cliff that requires at least a minute of climbing, and it's raining all the time. It took me like an hour to find out that there was just a path I had to take.
Mm-hmm. And I feel like in some areas like that one, again, the rain is used to the effect where it sort of forces you to follow that path, which sort of is the developer sort of pushing you down this path. And
it's like the one time besides getting to the Goron area that traveling to an area felt linear. Yeah. Because traveling to the Goron area, like Death Mountain, it required you to find this one shop that had heat resistance potions. So, like, I cheesed a tower by just spamming food items to heal until I activated the tower, and now I was stuck getting lit aflame by a tower until I realized I should just follow the road. Oh, hey, there's a shop that sells it. That sells the thing I can survive in. And then, when you have the potion, you can go do this quest to get lizards, and this guy gives you a heat resistance helmet. And I'm just like, this would have been great, like, 5 hours ago when I wasn't annoyed at the fact that I couldn't figure out why I couldn't progress further and, like, couldn't find this one item or these things that I could use to make this item. It was one of those instances where I was like, I can figure this out. I'm a human being. I'm 23 years old. Why can't I figure out this Zelda thing? Alright, time to put down shed number 2.
Yeah, for me, very nice. So yeah, for me, as it currently stands, I think I would probably have to give the award to Zelda, but I have time to think, and I haven't even played Xenoblade yet. Might be really good.
Yeah, this is also going to be an open discussion for Nintendo Unleashed, because we're recording this before you do Unleashed at, like...
Yeah.
So it's very clear that this is also going to be a topic of discussion over there, and I feel like I kind of stole that topic, but it does allow you to think a little bit, and especially because the PlayStation point is on hiatus because Kuro is gone. She is super busy with school, and she'll probably be back later, but the point of this podcast in particular is just to talk to the general group of people working on the site. And it's also an evolution of the site that it's become a network, pretty much, where everybody's going off to do their own things. Like, I'm becoming a full-time streamer, and I want to take BlazeKick along for the ride on that, where, like, I want my success on streaming to perpetuate the popularity of the website, and I want the website and the YouTube channel to also succeed through their own vices and kind of branch out and let everybody do their own thing and have BlazeKick be this centralized network where everybody can do what they want and enjoy what they want, but having it be something centralized where it feels like our collaborative effort has made the whole website a success, just doing our own things naturally. Game of the Year is that moment where we all kind of collide and realize something that, like, we all grew together through video games. That's basically what spawned the site, is our love for video games and our idea that we have a voice outside of the general opinion that we feel matters in some minor way, that made the website extremely special and why we've continued to do it all these years, and we haven't given up on it at all. That's where stuff like this comes in, where special podcasts about talking and trying to figure it out, basically, is what makes it awesome. So I don't think BlazeKick's gonna go realistically anywhere, because even if the site goes down, or like if we lose the domain, then we're still gonna have the channel. We're still gonna be doing our own thing and kind of evolving it in a way that perhaps we didn't expect. That's just the growing pain of the website, and that's what makes it beautiful, is that it's just a journey that we don't know where the destination will be. But we're playing Stardew Valley, and I'm a beer connoisseur, and we're talking about Game of the Year, and we have never met in real life. That's what makes the website special, is that this is an experience that I never would have had otherwise. So my Game of the Year would be Resident Evil 7, I believe, because I played through that entire game in VR. And it's like, I knew that I would love Resident Evil 7 because I love horror games, but the reason it sold me is that the VR experience is so much more than I expected. I have an entire playthrough on my channel of playing on the hardest difficulty, Madhouse, and I was playing through Madhouse blind in VR mode. And there are a lot of things that really caught me off guard. Like, there was a moment where I was hiding from Jack, who is like the first guy you have to deal with. He's like the first major boss. And every time, and like, he chased me into the living room and I hid behind a couch. Like, I actually physically hid behind a couch and waited for him to leave. I heard him leave, and I was like, okay, this gives me time to go upstairs. I go upstairs, open the door, immediately look to my right, and he, like, hype mans his way into the doorway and is just like, hey there, how you doing? I'm like, how did you get here? I actually, like, it physically scared me. I've never had a game give me that feeling of actual dread. Every time opening a door, every time I would look behind me and close a door, and wasting ammo felt like extra stressful. Resident Evil 7 did what a horror game should have done for the longest time. It felt like a Resident Evil game at its core. And it definitely sold me on the fact that VR is the future of gaming. Like, it's not like the definitive future, like, not every console, not every game should feature VR, but it's definitely gonna be something that's gonna stick around for a very long time if experiences like that can be maintained. And this transitioned heavily into Farpoint, which is another PlayStation VR game that utilizes an aim controller, so it's like a two-handed gun controller. And it's a very cinematic sci-fi experience with a lot of twists along the way. So if you like drama, like dramatic action games that have this heavy emphasis on plot, then Farpoint is really good at at throwing things, at throwing you for a loop and making sure that you don't know what's next. Which was a great experience in VR as well. Arizona Sunshine was a great feel because it was just you surviving against a horde of zombies and you dual wield handguns or you take a rifle, and it's just an overall feel good VR experience. Like, VR has been the first time in a very long time where I've been excited to know what comes next, and that's what makes Skyrim VR exciting, is because that's going to be a new experience for me as well, even though I've played the game a lot already.
Right.
Like, it'll still feel fresh and new, and that's awesome. But Resident Evil 7 sparked that interest in me, unlike any other game before. The way it handled survival and combat and crafting and like everything you could have thought about in a Resident Evil game was managed very well in both a standard play environment and a VR environment. And the best thing about Resident Evil 7 is that I'm not done with it yet, because in a couple weeks, sometime in December, they're going to release the Not a Hero campaign, which is a brand new campaign for free. And they already announced a new campaign as well called End of Zoe, which is going to be a paid DLC. And then there's the banned footage DLC, which added a survival mode. So like there's a ton of gameplay components that meld beautifully into one, and I play them all in VR because Resident Evil 7 just feels good to play. It feels visceral and solid, and it just there's nothing about Resident Evil 7 I absolutely hated the guts out of, especially in a VR experience, because everything was just handled beautifully. So, I mean, that's the only thing I found really weird is the fade out. Anytime there was like a change in animation, which is pretty much to prevent like disorientation, but it was still like really weird to have this crossfade between scenes. It kind of spoiled some stuff.
Right.
But like,
similarly,
it still felt great.
The upcoming,
Go on.
And similarly, in terms of like removing some animation stuff, I guess I think the upcoming version of, at least from what I've seen, Doom in VR looks like it doesn't have the glory kill animations.
Yeah, I think you're right. It would be really hard to animate that for a VR environment because of just how much you move.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Doom VFR is also its own experience entirely.
Yeah, no, that's true. It's not its own, or it's not like a.
The great thing about Skyrim VR is it's Skyrim. There's no cuts. It's all of Skyrim. It's all of the DLC, which in itself is a major selling point because, you know, I kind of liked the feeling of progressing in that game. Like I liked the progression of skills and everything that based entirely on what you did. Like, if you used one-handed swords, it would increase your one-handed weapon skill. If you used light armor, getting hit would give you light armor bonus skills. Like, it just playing to your own preference felt progressive. It didn't depend entirely on you just doing things and it happened and you would just have that skill. That's my favorite kind of RPG progression, is things that feel important to your playstyle. I've recently played a game called Dying Light, which is a parkour-based open-world RPG where you survive on an island full of zombies and it's melee-oriented. So, like, you do more melee combat than gun combat in that. But during the daytime, you just have to deal with your common straggling enemies. And then at night, there are things called volatiles, which are these ultra-fast zombies that can catch up to you and can also parkour really well. So you have to like dodge through alleyways and climb up buildings, and the system in check for movement feels clean. It's natural to just look where you want to go, jump across a building, and you'll land on a ledge. Everything feels natural. But they added in systems where just surviving and completing quests gives you survival levels, or doing a lot of parkour skills and avoiding enemies and surviving at night through navigation, that increases your agility, which gives you more parkour skills or more agility-based stunning skills, and then they split combat into another tree as well. So there's a lot of systems in check to orient if you're more of a combat-oriented player, then they give you more combat skills to work with. Or if you just avoid enemies entirely, then they give you more options to avoid combat. That's awesome. The same goes for Skyrim, and the same goes for Fallout. I hope Xenoblade Chronicles 2 has that same style, but I'm not getting my hopes up, because they more base it off of hunter arts than... Or not hunter arts, they base it more off of arts than actual, like, class-based skills, if I'm right. So it's like, I don't know. I'm kind of like indifferent about Xenoblade Chronicles in general, because I didn't like Xenoblade Chronicles 1. I really liked Xenoblade Chronicles X, but like it's just not my thing. It's one of those things where it's just perpetually boring, because everything starts feeling samey after a while, which is really weird coming from somebody who plays like JRPGs, where everything is pretty samey. But, I don't know, I have nothing wrong with Xenoblade Chronicles 2. If people enjoy it, then more power to them. Yeah, it's just not my thing. I already have over 300 hops, and I don't know what I'm gonna do with this amount of beer. We've only been playing for an hour, and I already have enough to last me, like, a week in terms of profit. And as you noted, I started off with like 500 gold or something, and now I'm sitting on a pretty pile of money. That's why I try not to use hops all too often. So quick tip about Stardew Valley, since I think we're done on the topic of open world stuff. A quick tip of advice for Stardew Valley: focus on your community center. Like, before profit, the community center is top tier, because if you really want to succeed, and you really want to keep profits going into the winter, you want that greenhouse. So you definitely want to complete your gardening bundle. So like do your crops bundles first. Get all that out of the way. So because the hardest thing in the world was waiting until fall because I forgot to do pumpkins. And you need 5 gold rank pumpkins and a pumpkin to do 2 crop bundles. And that was just annoying to have to play through until fall doing nothing but fishing until I could do it. So just focus on your community center first, because all the rewards you get from doing the community center makes your farming experience way easier. Having this greenhouse during winter makes getting a lot of money way easier.
Yeah.
So go for that. Last thing to note. So what games are you currently playing? Like, I know you have, like, a list of games that you want to play right now, but it's, like, for the last topic, it's more like, what game has your attention the most, I'd say, right now?
Mm-hmm. Oh, gosh. Okay. Okay, I mean, I'm going to talk about 2 games, because it's hard for me to pick from one.
Right.
Currently, though, The Witcher 3 on PS4.
Really? You started? Oh. Okay. That's more of, like, a technical RPG. It's way different from any RPG you're going to play.
I did.
Yeah,
I would imagine. So yeah, there's some elements which I'm iffy on, but like I guess I'm kind of in it for the side quest. I've heard great things about them, and I'm enjoying them so far.
The Witcher is based on.
The
Witcher is also based on a book, I believe, a series of books. And that was like a turning point for me with the Metro series. Metro 2033 and Metro Last Light were based on books, and that made their narrative experience way better. The thing about Witcher 3 is that they definitely have a very concise progression in their plot, which makes it feel important. So that will probably gain your attention in The Witcher 3. Is the main plot, getting through the main plot is the worst thing. The story is the best thing about The Witcher. It's not necessarily about... It's not about the journey, but it's about the people you meet, pretty much.
So in addition to that, for me, Animal Crossing Pocket Camp has been huge.
Yeah. I
downloaded that. Have you tried that out yet?
Oh yeah, I'm like level 15. I've been playing it a lot.
See, I downloaded that upon the official, I guess you could say official stateside release. I did not go for the early Australian deal.
I couldn't even be bothered. I already have an account in Japan for the iOS store. I don't want a third account just for Australia.
Yeah, and so I think I'm level 12 in there. For me, it's definitely the Nintendo mobile game I've been enjoying the most. I think.
Mario Run was great for a while, and they added more stuff to Mario Run, but like, I feel like even Fire Emblem Heroes outgrew its welcome after a while, but like, I feel like Animal Crossing Pocket Camp has the potential to be amazing. They just need a lot more, because there are only like 40 characters. There are like only 40 animals available right now, and most of them I've never heard of. And also the size of your camp. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. No. I also feel like, well, a couple things. So first of all, there are so few species of fish and bugs to capture. First of all, I think they should really increase that. I also think alongside that, a museum would just be so nice.
Yeah. We basically want them to make a condensed version of Animal Crossing with the Happy Home Designer approach to gameplay progression. And that's okay. I'm actually perfectly fine if they added in like fishing contests or bug contests. Like if they added in like actual Animal Crossing holidays into Animal Crossing Pocket Camp, that would be awesome. I would love to see Jingle, and I was really bummed that they didn't have Franklin for Thanksgiving.
For Thanksgiving, yeah. Who knows? Maybe we will see Jingle.
Yeah. It's, I totally spent 250 of my Leaf tickets to have Tota KK there, though. There was no way I wasn't going to pass that up.
Yeah. See, I've been enjoying that a lot. I'm very much enjoying building a little playground on the rightmost side of my camp. Yeah. For some reason, I'm obsessed with that idea.
My camp is a mess.
Yeah. Mine, I'm still working on the left side for sure, but the right side, I feel like if we got a pretty clear vision, I'm going to eventually work on getting the little half pipe in the back right.
Right.
I've been enjoying it. It's a good game. You know, for the most part, it's pretty mindless, and the tasks you're doing are simple, but it just feels good to level up. So
yeah, there's definitely a point where it feels like progression stops, and it's the point where you actually have people in your farm, or like have people in your camp. Sorry, when you have people in your camp, the amount of points, like the amount of friendship points you get, is dramatically reduced. I've noticed. So it feels like you shouldn't have animals in your camp unless you've already maxed out their friendship, which is really weird.
Yeah, for me, the way I'm approaching the gameplay, I think, is I'm going to attempt to, I guess, get animals into my camp, max them, and then just get rid of the ones I don't like, because you can do that, and you can always invite new friends, right?
Right. Yeah.
I think that's probably the approach I'm going to take. Just max out as many animals as possible, and ideally cycle them all through my campground. We'll see how that goes.
Yeah. I don't. I guess I will. I guess I will milk today. I usually skip a milk day sometimes, but I don't know. These cows seem extremely happy and have been giving me some high quality milk.
So yeah, those are my two big games at the moment.
I switch around a lot of games, but the games that have been keeping my attention the most have been Dying Light most recently, and I don't even know what else really. I'm usually so focused on one game at a time.
Yeah, no, I'm with you there. I like to keep it streamlined. I actually own Dying Light, and I've been kind of skeptical to pick it up just because I've heard so many mixed things about the Dead Island games. Because I think it's by the same studio, right?
No, it's not. Dying Light is done by a different team, but it's definitely way better than Dead Island. It's the same core concept as Dead Island, but just done way better. Like, combat feels more solid, quest lines are definitely more expedited. The problem, I played Dead Island and I actually beat it this year because it's been plaguing me for so long. I've been like 80% done with the game based on the progression rate, and it is like, okay, I'm just gonna sit down and play this. The last 15% of the game were 6 escort missions where you couldn't let the character die, and they walked really slowly, and every time they walked certain checkpoints, they would spawn more zombies. Followed by 3 backtracks where you went to every single area you've already been to and did quest lines there, and then they had a quest line in the prison that you had to do. I was like, I just want to beat the game. I really don't care anymore. Yeah. I'm dead inside. But Dying Light feels natural, I guess, is a good way of putting it. Like, it isn't... The world is huge, and there's no fast travel, which is the biggest gripe I have with it. But, traversing terrain in that game feels great and fast. And that was the biggest thing about Dead Island, is that it was just slow and sluggish and annoying.
I might actually check it out now. So yeah, not only do I enjoy movement in games. You know,
oh yeah, you're gonna love the movement then. If you've ever seen parkour, you live in the area.
Real life parkour. Or video,
yeah, like you live in the 21st century. You've seen parkour. Parkour in Dying Light feels just as natural as it looks to see a professional parkour artist do his thing. Like, it just feels great, and the more you level up your agility, they give you more moves to just do things more quickly. The only issue is that some of the side quests are awful. Like, there's a side quest where you're on a destroyed bridge, and you have to find some dude's camera in a car.
Oh, great.
And there are like 1 million cars on the bridge. So you have to check a bunch of cars, and there are like 1,000 zombies on the bridge. And you're definitely not capable of killing 1 million zombies on your own. Unless you have like a ton of equipment. Right. It was just a major annoyance when I played it. But I don't know. It's definitely one of those moments where some side quests are really bad and some side quests are awesome. So, like, yeah, check it out. Especially because they're adding in 10 content updates for free. Like, just a bunch of free stuff. And they have custom maps. On the PC version, they have custom maps, so you can, like, make your own levels. Which is awesome. Some dude recreated Metro 2033.
Are the custom maps playable on home consoles or only on...
I don't know, honestly. Modding on a console scene is definitely a new thing.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I'll look into that for sure. It sounds like Sonic could learn a thing or two from Dying Light.
I think a hurricane just
in terms
passed.
Of speed. Oh, unique. Hopefully.
An explosion was heard in the night. Oh, that's foreboding.
I thought you meant in real life. I was like,
no. That's what the black screen was for. Oops, I didn't mean to give that to you, but I guess you like it, so here you go, honey. What even was that? I don't know what that explosion was, but I definitely am concerned. I might actually have to Google what that was, because I don't know what that is. I've never seen that event. Either way, we're pretty much at the end of this. So, go ahead and plug your stuff, I suppose, and,
yeah, sure.
And you'll be on your way to film Nintendo Unleashed, because you gotta do that in, like, a couple hours.
Right, yeah, it's a jam-packed day for me.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, yeah, you guys can follow me on Twitter at Dashy007. Of course, be sure to listen to the Nintendo Unleashed podcast on youtube.com/BlazeKickMedia or on the iTunes or Google Play podcast app. And something I've been kind of slacking on but hope to get back to soon is a little bit of WordPress where I'm kind of writing about games, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I like to have my own space for that.
Yeah.
And so that's nofunzone.wordpress.com. Hopefully I'll graduate from the WordPress label soon, but no, start somewhere.
Yeah.
I've already written about sort of my experience with Uncharted, what that has been like as someone who's sort of always been a Nintendo fan. I've admittedly had like something of a, I've been a Nintendo fanboy. It's not something I'm proud of, but like I've had a stigma against. You've
definitely moved on from that. Like it's very amazing to see somebody who is so hard into Nintendo games until a year ago, and it's like a completely different person, pretty much. Like you'll jump to the defense of Nintendo still, but it's at the general opinion, and not necessarily of the fact that it's a Nintendo thing anymore, which is great.
Right. So I've definitely matured in that way.
Mm-hmm.
I'm hoping to also write about. I was hoping to write about The Last of Us. It's been a while since I've played it though, so but I did love The Last of Us. Great game.
Mm-hmm. Can't wait for part 2. I'm seeing those cutscenes at the Paris conference. Seeing that cutscene was an eye opener. Like the production quality on the mocap is insane.
Yeah.
So I'm excited on that.
I mean, The Last of Us Remastered was beautiful on PS4, so I'm super excited to see what they can do. With native hardware. Uncharted 4 was such a big leap over.
Absolutely.
Over stuff. So, and yeah, you can. I mean, that's pretty much it. Twitter is kind of where I put most of my stuff. So if you follow me there, you'll be able to sort of see everything else by extension. And that's about it for me, really.
You can find me glad to have you. You can find me at ReplayTieHeretic on Twitter. I also have a YouTube channel and a Twitch page under the same name where I usually upload streams, or I will stream. I stream at least once a week now, trying to get that Twitch affiliation, and I'm so close. But point being is that I wouldn't have done this without the friends I've made through BlazeKick and through YouTube. That it's one of those examples where I just absolutely cannot squander this opportunity anymore. Being able to do streaming full-time and being able to get paid for it would be a dream job for me, because working retail was a nightmare, especially as someone who is chronically depressed and occasionally has suicidal thoughts. It is awful to work in retail and having to deal with people who just don't treat you as a person. They treat you as an object. But coming to the internet and being on the internet for so long, for the past 15 years, and just meeting friends and doing this kind of stuff, writing articles, and feeling important is something that I cannot be more grateful for. And especially the friends I've made through BlazeKick have been a wonderful experience. Being able to bring my writing and my opinions forth to people, and having a group of friends that understand and accept opinions is awesome. So I want to thank Noah in particular, because you are one of the first people that I clashed with on Nintendo, and you were among the first. I think it was Dan back in Flood Games that I clashed with a lot, but you kind of brought that forth in BlazeKick. Yeah. But you've completely changed, and it's one of those moments where it's not a change for the worse, because seeing people with an open mind is awesome. Seeing people that embrace opinions and can still have fun with things that they enjoy is awesome. But the best thing about BlazeKick,
sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, the best thing about BlazeKick is that we're all happy, and we all love what we do, which is love video games.
Podcasts are fun.
Oh yeah. That iTunes, am I right?
Stuff. Go watch it or listen.
Google Play and iTunes is where you can find Nintendo Unleashed, as well as the PlayStation Point, which I'm a co-host of. We're on a hiatus because Kuro is currently focused on schoolwork. So yeah, be sure to check out Nintendo Unleashed, and also go check out Dashy's blog, Noah's blog. You'll probably bring a couple of those articles over to BlazeKick when you feel like that feels more naturally fit for the website. Opinion pieces are great, but like they need to feel like they have a structure.
Once I've got enough of those up there, hopefully I'll be able to curate them a little more.
Yeah, it's more like writing practice at this point. Like it's just understanding your structure that's going to make it feel better. So what were you going to say?
Yeah. You were talking about like sort of expanding, like having an open mind, and yeah, just to briefly touch on the PS4 thing. I mean, for me, that was really one of them. Well, aside from wanting to play certain games that I didn't have, that was one of my biggest reasons for buying one. Sort of wanting to break out of that like closed mindset mold, and for me, it's been awesome. It's been funny because again, as someone who's previously this diehard Nintendo fan, owning a PS4 has confirmed some of my, I guess you could say, suspicions and dispelled others. But it's nice to be able to experience things for myself rather than
Yeah.
Sort of having this in our mindset.
Yeah. It was definitely an experience when you jumped on the train to play Fortnite when it came out on PS4. I was just like, huh.
It's been great.
Yeah. So thank you all. Yeah. So I'll try to hop on at some point. I haven't played it in a while. They added in an item that lets you play as a bush, right? Like I saw some sort of bush potion. That sounds awesome. Anyways, thank you all for watching. This is going to be kind of like a side series, so it's not going to get a weekly thing like all the other stuff we do. It's probably going to be once every couple weeks or once a month or something, when I can get special guests on board. I'll see if I can't get Armando on, because he's been away for a while. I want to bring him back into the light, see how he's doing. But thank you all for watching. For now, I've been Tyler, and this has been my guest, Noah.
That's me.
Yep. And, beer is expensive. Really, really expensive, apparently.